All right, my friends, welcome back. This is a solo episode of the Truth of Transformation podcast. And today I'm literally just going to be giving you 9 of my favorite tips to cut calories when your goal is to lose weight that you can do where you don't actually have to track calories. So one of my biggest focuses for the majority of clients is to be able to lose weight sustainably and from a healthy manner without ever having to track or count macros. There is a time and a place, and definitely for the right person. And sometimes it's within a season or learning that because the education that it provides. But ultimately, if we can get away from that, because it's not a livable place, then we're successful for the long haul. We're thinking in terms of the long-term spectrum of building habits, building routines, building patterns that's going to make sure that you're there. And so there are definitely seasons where I use calorie counting and macro, tracking and all of these different methodologies. But as said before, right, principles are few, methods are many. So that's just the truth of this. So there's many different ways to get to the top of the mountain, and we're picking the one that works best. So this has kind of come dropping this podcast and just this info just because I'm working with quite a few new nutrition clients all at once. And each person is on a completely different trajectory. I mean, same trajectory of where they want to go, losing a certain amount of weight in a certain amount of time that is built to be sustainable and last forever. But they're all using different methods because I try and meet people exactly where they're at. So I've got a few people that were just looking at their big block food, a few people that were looking at overall calories, a few people are down deep in the weeds of actually doing, like a 5-2 split, 5 days of caloric deficit, 2 days of refeed. And we're being really sensitive to that. Some people are kind of in the process of rehabbing some gut issues. And I do use the word rehabbing for that because that really is kind of where it is at for this one specific individual. So all that said, I'm just saying that it's got to be specific to you and meet you where you're at. And if you're struggling and if you haven't been able to be successful, there's a good chance it's because you're trying to do a one-size-fits-all approach. And you're unique. Your situation is unique and it's different. And what you crave, if you crave salt or whether you crave sugar, is going to be different. And so it's understanding all of these metrics, being able to track your sleep, your hormone levels that are happening. So like the amount of stress that is in your life can be really valuable. So I do encourage you, if you have not been able to find a program that sticks, to reach out and we can definitely talk about it. I'm happy to help. But hopefully these 9 tips, they have worked extremely well for people over the years. And so I just decided to drop them all here at once. But there's stuff that I continually use as ways to sneak extra stuff in that burns more calories and kind of blocks some of the behaviors that wouldn't be serving. So let's dive right in before I keep rambling too much. So the first one is honestly just walks. I simply want you to just get up and walk. And so when we're looking at creating a caloric deficit, NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, your NEAT is actually one of the biggest things, right? So you have whatever your body needs to burn calories just to stay alive. Then you have NEAT. So all the little hand gestures, the little movements, blinking of the eyes, getting up and down, going on walks, movement in general is burning calories. And then you have your actual exercise. And so often people think like, oh, I'm going to lose weight from exercise. Well, we've all gotten pretty smart now to know that, nope, that's just actually going to make us a little bit more hungry. And we could eat a little bit more and probably really quickly eat more than what we're burning during that workout. And so it's just being as mindful as possible to move as much as you possibly can. So I know that it's almost feels like a throwaway answer, but if you're not aware of how many steps you're actually taking, this is a great place to start, So if you've got most phones these days, they're on us a little too much and they will track that. So I say at least shoot for 3,000 as a bare minimum start. Then from there, work your way up to 5,000. And then from there, anything honestly over 7,500 steps a day is phenomenal. It really is. You do not need to be doing 20,000 steps a day. And this is your cardio. I think that's where we get confused, right? Because you're not in a dripping sweat type position, but this is all cardio that is building up and you're burning more calories than you think, but you're also, getting up, which I think is a huge thing. So it's better for your joints than we even realize. Plus the getting out fresh oxygen and away from screens and all these types of things. And maybe you can just pop in a podcast. Maybe you're even doing this one right now as you're on a walk, which is an amazing thing. So number 2, goes in line with this, and it's something that I use quite frequently. But it is using that walking time for a call, right? So I have a lot of coaching calls that I have to do on a weekly basis, and probably some of my coaching clients are listening right now, and they're highly aware that there's going to be times where there's traffic driving by, or there's going to be a dog barking, and I'll take new client calls that way too, because it's like, that's the lifestyle that I want to live. And how you live is how you lead, right? And so there's nothing that I will tell a client to do that I haven't done myself, or haven't experienced myself, or haven't put myself through. I just don't believe it's ethical to do it any other way than that, So trainers that, prescribe like these insane workouts and they can't even do them themselves, yeah, questionable, right? Or these extremely rigid, low-calorie diets. And I'm like, you're eating donuts and cheeseburgers. This is not right, right? The audio must match the video and vice versa. But I digress, simply to state the point that it's critical to use that time. So I actually take my dog on a walk every single morning, anywhere between 6 and 7. And 3 of those mornings, I actually have scheduled coaching client calls that happen on a weekly basis. And so it's dog is walking. I'm getting my exercise as well. And this is a beautiful thing, getting out there, and I'm maximizing that time. And so I encourage you to do that. So, like it goes back to the age old, get out on the golf course with the other executives. And that's where the business deals are made. Business deals are made on the golf course. Right. But it could be that they're made on a hike. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, yeah, sure. I want to definitely hang out. Come meet me for a hike. Let's go for a walk, these types of things. Instead of going to Starbucks and sitting at Starbucks with a drink, go grab your drink and then go walk up and down the street, like get active. It's going to stimulate so much, and you're going to be burning way more calories than you even realize. And all those little things, the micro leads to the macro, my friends. All right. So that's number 2, but it's really like 2 and 2.5. And then that brings us to number 3. And 3 is get a standing desk. So 50% of my day is actually standing at a desk. When I'm writing or recording podcasts, I am typically seated. It's just much more comfortable, and I'm able to flow at a much better pace. But when I am doing any kind of coaching calls, any kind of email responses and checking nutrition stuff, responding to people, I'm standing. Right? And so it makes a huge difference. And a lot of my videos I'll record standing as well. And so I encourage you to create a standing desk, buy a standing desk. Literally, mine's an attachment that I just like put on top that costs like $50. And so there's really not an excuse these days. And it's just, some of the research on what it is doing to us to be seated all day is a lot. So we want to get up and as much as we possibly can, and a standing desk can make a huge difference, right? So I know these are almost like throwaway ones, but what's interesting is if they weren't important, we'd all be doing it. And I think that's the key thing, right? We know, like, we can say that we know that we need to eat less and move more. Yeah, I know. I need more protein, need more veggies, and I need to cut back a little bit on some of my carbs and my fats. And then I would lose weight. I would be in a caloric deficit and I would lose weight. Yeah, I know. I need to work out. So I'm still giving these to you because the more you hear it, right, the better it's going to be. The only way that it's actually going to be implemented is if you truly commit, make a decision, and surrender to the fact that it's going to be part of the journey. It's not going to be a fast type, quick, 7-day thing and you're radically transformed, or some pill is going to come across. So you kind of have to commit, surrender to the process for sure. But ultimately what gets measured gets managed. And so it's like, these things are things that I actually measure with clients, and I encourage you to do the same for yourself as you're going, right? So let's keep sliding on. So number 4 is within all those same realms is to remove environmental cues. So like environment is what dictates so much stuff for us. And so sometimes we have to go as far as to remove things out of our cabinets, remove those foods, remove those triggers, whatever they may be, because we see them and we're naturally taken back and naturally just want to have them. I had a client that we had to literally change the direction that he was driving home every single night, because there are 3 to 4 main restaurants, and one was actually just a donut shop. And it's had been routine for the last like 10 years to just swing in, stop, grab something. The donut shop was always on a Friday night, so you'd have them there Saturday morning and finish off the rest on Sunday. And so we had to just change the direction that he was driving. It wasn't that we had to bring up willpower. But if we can remove the environment, change the environment, remove the environmental cues, it's going to be huge. So I need you to kind of look across the board in your life. Where are these certain cues happening that are triggering an event? And that's going to be so huge for you. So maybe it's that there's too much stuff in the cabinet, too much stuff in the freezer. Maybe there's stuff at work at certain places, like the candy bowl that you have to walk past every time. Yeah. Is there a way to do that? Or is it even possible for you to have a powerful, crucial conversation? Say, hey, I need your support. To the person that has that candy bowl. Can you make sure you don't offer that to me? Or can you make sure that you stop me or yell at me if I do take one? I mean, these are the smallest little things, but that little 100 calorie piece of candy, 5 times a week, that's 500 calories right there, and it's probably a lot more than that when we look at that scope. So we need to remove environmental cues, and that could be an entire podcast and conversation on its own, but I think it's really a powerful one. All right, number 5. Number 5 is actually afternoon meditation. So a lot of the 2 areas of time that most people get into the most trouble, I would say, with over consuming foods are in the afternoons and after dinner. And the reason being is we're tired. We are very fatigued at that time. And so if your routine has been to go get a really sugary, high calorie, caffeinated beverage or something like that, and you become addicted to that, we need to replace that. We need to swap that out with something else that is going to serve you different or the same way and get the same effect, but obviously in a much better way, because it's going to be removing a lot of those sugary calories that are honestly just spiking you and then crashing you once again. So, nothing wrong with coffee by any means, but when you're all of a sudden having 400 calories in a beverage, you could run into some problems. You may never actually be able to get in a low enough caloric deficit to lose weight. So I challenge you to implement some afternoon meditation, and it could be sitting at your desk, sitting in your car, laying down, whatever it may be. But meditation, what people get kind of confused on is like, I've tried it. It doesn't work. I've tried it. It doesn't work. Yeah. Well, the first workout isn't going to be your best either. The first time you cooked wasn't your best. First time you tried to do math wasn't your best. It's usually right around the 1,000th time that we seem to get it and things start to actually flow. So I encourage you to keep going. But meditation, what is it? We get confused on what it is. Ultimately, it is a chance, right? It's not a chance for you to quiet the mind and not have any thoughts go through. No, it's kind of a surrender to let the thoughts be what they are going to be. If there's a bunch of chatter and noise up there, that's fine. Let it keep happening. But what it is doing is because you're actually awake during meditation, you're completely awake, right? You're not in the sleep mode. So your body is actually able to completely shut down, not your mind. And I think that's where we get kind of confused. At night, when we're completely resting, our mind completely shuts down, but our body is actually still slightly aware of whatever like saber-toothed tiger might still come creeping in through the door, right? So our body's senses are still alert to what is going on. And sometimes I don't feel like we get the full adequate rest at night that we absolutely need. But when you're in meditation, your mind is awake enough, your ears are awake enough to the senses that are around you. And so your body is actually completely able to just surrender and shut down. And it's a beautiful thing, right? It's where if you do meditation long enough, consistent enough, there's so many times where you just like almost don't even feel like you have a body or like your body can't move, because it is at such a state of peace. And it's interesting how energized you will feel after that. So I challenge you. And if it turns into a nap, I call it a napitation. I'm not mad at that either. It's just honoring what your body needed. Maybe you needed to sit up. Maybe it's something along those lines, but potentially it's just what you needed and it's all good. All right. So we got 3 more here. I know this is going to be a short podcast, but I just wanted to hit these major details because I feel like they're helpful. So number 6 is water before appetizers. And this could be before anything, but I find this to be extremely like specific time where it's really helpful when you're eating out. So for me, like Mexican restaurant, love Mexican food, love spicy hot sauce food. And those chips come and they've got the perfect amount of crunch, salt, and yeah, they're just amazing. This is true. And so what I have to say to myself is you can have some. I just need you to drink half this glass of water. If it's got a lot of ice, it's got to be this full glass of water. So we know that's not that much before you can have any. That water goes down and then I'm allowed to have some. And what's cool is I've just killed off 2, 3, maybe even 5, 6 minutes of time where I've already placed my order, time where that order is already starting to cook. So then by the time I even get to the chips, they come around, they fill my glass of water up, right? I'm a little bit more full. That's always a good thing. 2, I've just killed off a bunch of time before my actual meal comes, so I can fill up on that, not just chips. And 3, I eat way less chips. So these are the types of things that can actually make a huge difference. It's a if then. If I do this, then I can have this. And this works extremely well. If I do this, then I can go here. If I, limit this, then I can indulge in this. And so I encourage you to do something as simple as an if then. Encourage you to do it with water. If you struggle with things like appetizers coming around the table the way that I do, where you could just, devour the entire thing, and all of a sudden you're like, dang, that was 800 calories more than I wanted in that one single meal. So I challenge you to implement that to some degree for sure. So number seven, along the water lines, a lot of people are like, I can't stand water. All right, sparkling water. There's plenty of these sparkling waters that are pretty darn affordable these days. 0 calories, really nothing to them other than a little bit of flavor. And the carbonation that is within that beverage is going to fill you up. You're going to get a little of that flavor that's going to make you happy. You're definitely hydrating. So this can be a huge win. So a lot of times if you need something to curb in between because you are getting a little hunger cue that is coming up, but that it's not like outrageous. It's just that your body is adjusting, right? I'm all for listening to your body, knowing when it's actually hungry, being intuitive, but that takes time to learn. It really does take time to learn to check back in with your body and see what it needs. It's why meditation is so hard for a long time before you actually do it. You just have to stay consistent with it. And so it's the same kind of thing. So nothing against the intuitive eaters. It's just that there are many steps that have to go into place before you can get to a place where you truly do know what your body needs. And then the last couple here is number 8, eat with a timer or even with a TV show, an episode, a 30-minute episode. So often the reason we overconsume too many calories or unable to lose weight then is because we eat extremely fast. It takes your stomach 20, sometimes even up to 30 minutes, depending on the concentration of the food that you're eating, to even recognize that it is full. To send those signals back up to your brain to say, stop, I'm good, that's enough. And I don't know about you, but I can put down a lot of food in 20 minutes, right? It's why Thanksgiving is it's not a marathon, it's a race. How much of this good stuff can I keep eating before my stomach realizes I've way overeaten? Because it's just so tasty. How can you not love Thanksgiving food, right? And so you're like, let me shove all this down in 20 minutes so that it doesn't recognize that I'm full yet. And then I'm going to be feeling it later, but it's worth the suffer is kind of how I look at it, because it's one main meal. But that's what I want you to start to be able to recognize is like, oof, I eat too fast. And therefore I eat more than I realize. And all of a sudden I find myself, I'm too full. Because honestly, if you can really gain an insight into how you're feeling with what you're eating, right? And this goes back to the intuitive eating, and recognize I'm about 80% full, not 100% full. 100% full means that you're going to be at your maintenance calories. You're at, filling your body up to what it actually needs. Over full is where most people end up, which is why they slowly continue to gain weight, 2-3 pounds every single year on average. Fast forward to, when you're in your 40s or your 50s and you're going, man, how did I end up 20 to 40 pounds overweight? Didn't happen overnight. It happened in 2-pound increments every single year for 20 years. And all of a sudden that's 40 pounds. And so that's why when people are like, I want to lose 40 pounds in the next 3 months, or even 20 pounds in the next 2 months, I'm going, you put it on 2 pounds a year. How about we only lose, 0.5 to maybe 2 pounds every single week and do it the right way. And then you don't even have to worry about it. Yes, it's longer, but let's see what's happened before. It gained it long. And so now we need to work it back that same way. But sometimes we have to understand even what that percentage feels like. What does 100% full feel like? What does 80% feel like? And so I challenge you to set a TV show timer, like sit down and eat in the front of the TV. Yes, I'm encouraging that, because that 30-minute time zone, you look down, it's on the first commercial and you're already done. Wow, you're slamming that food so incredibly fast. So no wonder you're going back for seconds or even thirds, or you're, within that 30-minute time span. You're not really still hungry. You think you are at that point. And so we need some way to slow us down. Now, if you legit don't have the time, you're eating while you're working and all this kind of stuff, then I encourage you to be able to not have that second plate until after 30 minutes. Say you're working from your desk and you're eating. Well, at least set a 30-minute timer and not have that second plate until after that time frame. It's probably one of the best ways to do it from there. If you still can't even do that, then honestly, I encourage you to start really looking at your priorities and what's wrong with the type of work that you're in. And if you absolutely love it, that's great. But it sounds like it's all consuming. And who would you be if you didn't have that job? Where's your identity then? Say that was completely taken away from you. And so I know I'm going down a darker rabbit hole, but I just want to bring that light and awareness. And if you can't honor your body and actually have it performing at an optimal level, then you're not going to be able to do that job for long. The downside of that, like, can come pretty hard, pretty fast. So just keeping you humble, because that's what works for me. Squash my ego as much as I possibly can and stay as humble as possible. And it gives me that drive to then continue. And then that brings us to our last one, and that's habit stacking. So using the power of association. Usually this is where we do one thing and it triggers off, right, the next cue to do the next thing, to do the next thing after that. So if we look at your morning routine, it's already there. It's already in existence. Like, you get up, you go pee, right? The exact same time, same way, right? Then you're going to go ahead into the room and grab that favorite cup of coffee that you like. It's just finished brewing with your favorite mug. And you're going to sit down in the exact same spot that you sat in for the last 5 days, probably the last like several years if you've been in the same house. And then you're going to turn on the TV or pick up your phone or the book, whatever that routine is. It's exactly the same every single morning. But really, it's like the going pee first thing that kicks off these next series of events. So we want to do that from a positive place. So we want to be able to look across the board and say, like, hey, where can I put in, like, what is the main goal that I have so that I can eliminate eating too many calories? And for me, that was happening at night. So I was going, you know what? Like, it's like past 8 p.m. where anything that it's going in my mouth is just something sugary and it's not actually beneficial for me. And it's usually 2, 3, or even like 600 calories worth of, like, you know, anything sugar. Cookies, brownies, ice cream, whatever is in the house and available, usually something that my son has once or twice a week that he enjoys and we're totally okay with. But for me, it's dangerous. All right. And that's something that, if we're going back to number 4, where I'm saying remove environmental cues, I would love to have that removed. But, you know, that's where it's the harmony of balance within the family dynamic, right? With people in your house. And so that can't happen. And so what I had to do was say, like, all right, well, how can I stop myself from eating past 8 p.m.? Yes, you could just say, like, I'm not going to eat after 8 p.m. All right, cool. Tell me how that works. Because you've probably said that before. So we need to set some type of triggers, and the power of association works extremely well. And so it was like, for me, all right, at 8 p.m., I need to associate that with brushing my teeth. So it's an actual event. I'm replacing the event of eating sugary cookies and stuff with the event of brushing my teeth. And then once you've got that like minty freshness going on, you really don't want to ruin that, because you don't have to brush your teeth again. And so that when I was finding that it was a struggle to stick to that time, because I wouldn't be paying attention to the time that much. And next thing you know, I'm like, oh, it's like 8:20. All right, so I better do that. So what I found was it was better to even associate even further. And I had a routine already, and I just tied it to it. So the routine went like this, right? April, my wife, makes dinner. Always amazing. I'm very lucky and blessed. And then after that, I always do the dishes. We have our, she does dinner, I clean. Well, after dishes, I take vitamins. Same vitamins every single night, makes things nice and smooth. So it's instantly like my brain is already thinking about the vitamins the moment, like unconsciously, the moment that I'm eating dinner. Because it's dinner to dishes to vitamins. So then it became like, how can I associate brushing my teeth with this as well? So then I just made a pattern of it. All right. So then the moment I'm done with my vitamins, I'm going to actually brush my teeth. So then it became that routine. Dinner, my brain is already thinking of brush your teeth, because it's that serious. It's what it's expecting. It doesn't want to have to think about these things, because that's burning more calories in the process of thinking about them. It wants to make everything as much of a routine as possible, so it can use as much fuel as possible in case anything else does come up. So it's dinner, I do dishes, take vitamins, brush teeth. Then that immediately became, set up my son's bath, and I run through his nighttime bath time routine. Next thing you know, it's like 9:30 at night. And definitely not going for anything at that point. It's been so long. I'm feeling good, and I just want to go to sleep. So then, within an hour and a half after that, it's, 10:30, sometimes a little later, and we're crashed out. And I've just avoided any of those danger times that would normally be from 8 p.m. till 11 p.m. And so I encourage you to find that for yourself as well. What are the habits that you need to put in place but more importantly, what can you associate them with? So often it's like get triggered and angered at work, right? That anger then turns into grabbing a piece of candy from the candy jar, which then turns into the response of like feeling slightly better for that slight moment and then feeling guilty. So then you get angry at something else and then repeat that cycle. So those cues of whatever is causing you to get angry are going to continue to happen. The desire to replace that anger with something that makes you feel better is going to continue. But the response doesn't have to be chocolate, sugary candy. The response is in your control once you've brought awareness to the situation. Challenging, 100% challenging to be able to do that. But my goal for you is to understand what is the habit loop that is happening and what is my new response. My new response, instead of going for, like I was, nighttime snacking, which is just straight up boredom and fatigue, boredom and tired, right? When you're tired, like you're definitely going to be craving stuff, which is why we talked about the afternoon meditation or the napitation that needs to happen. Spike the ghrelin in your system and all of a sudden you're craving food. It's what it does. So what we want to be able to do is recognize, like, what is that habit loop that is happening? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it disappointment? Is it sadness? Is it lack of human connection? And so therefore, like, we are trying to solve this problem and we're just feeding it with food. And therefore we need to change that response that happens that gives us the same effect. So maybe going for a walk, bringing it all the way back to our very first one, is what needs to happen in that time span. When I get angry at work, instead of reaching for the candy jar, I'm going to go for a walk. I get outside, I get fresh air, I get some movement. Actually, I feel a lot better. Cool. I can go back in. I'm regulating my own emotions. Life is good. So those are 9 little tips that I feel like will help you cut calories without actually having to track calories so you can lose weight. So you're moving a little bit more by going on walks, right? You're definitely going to try and take business calls or even make walking meetings a part of your daily thing. There's plenty of other people that would want to do that if you're willing to set the stage and do that for yourself and for them. Get a standing desk or find yourself standing as much as possible, even if you need to implement one, so you're not just sitting in a chair all day long. Remove any environmental cues that you possibly can, be it from work, be it the drive that you take, so you're not swinging by the same fast food places when you're fatigued, when you're tired, and you're coming home late, or that donut shop like my one client that we worked through, and he's killing the game now, right? Make sure that you're taking an afternoon break. I recommend meditation, but whatever puts you in a better state, better calm state, is going to be a really good thing. Have water before appetizers, before dinner, works extremely well. Fill up on it a little bit. Number 7, grab that sparkling water if you really need some bubbly, like that stuff is going to kind of curb appetite pretty well, right? Number 8, eat with the TV on or use a timer to slow down your eating to the best of your abilities. If you're not able to do that, at least set a timer so that you go back for that second plate until after you've hit that 30-minute mark. And if you're still hungry, you can check in with yourself and go, it was just habit. Then that's fine. Right? Now you can stop it. It's actual hunger. Give yourself a little bit and then retest, do another 30 minutes. And then finish off with number 9, our habit stack. What are the routines? What is the power of association that we need to put into place so that we can go from one to the next? And it just starts to become so routine that we don't even think about having more. Because that's what's happening right now with the snacking, with the nibbling, with the extra calories that are sneaking in. It's part of the association. It's part of the association to go from something savory and then have to finish off with something sweet, a little treat, a little dessert. No, it doesn't have to be that way. That's the power of association that you have circling through your head right now. And so maybe we need to look at that habit loop that is happening, figure out that where it's going to be breaking down so we can change that response. So those are my 9 things for you today. I hope it was super helpful. As always, screenshot this, tag me in an Insta story if it is something that is helping you. Help spread the word. I do greatly appreciate when you share these with anybody else that is in need of any kind of tips. We've got some awesome guests that are going to coming up in the future. If you need any coaching, need any guidance, ready to take that next step, definitely just reach out, joseph@truthoftransformation.com, or just find me on any online sources, Joseph Hawthorne. So, all right, guys, have a great day. Peace be the journey.
All right, my friend, that concludes another great episode. And I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for going on this journey with me, going down this path as you and I continue to explore and uncover the truth of what it takes to completely transform. And now you've got 2 assignments. And the first one is it's really important that you take action on one thing that you heard from today's message. It's important to take the education with a little bit of implementation so that you can yield the results to go from good to great, to go from ordinary to extraordinary, to go from your everyday norm to a place where you can completely transform. And the second thing that I need you to do is share this message because there's a friend, a coworker, a loved one out there that needs to hear a piece of this, and it's what they are waiting for to help them radically shift the way that they've been living life and start to explore their true potential, for them to get unstuck. And so I need you to screenshot this, tag me on social media, or share or write a review or whatever it is you know is going to get this message out to the right person at the right time so that they can live the best life possible. Because that's our goal. That is our goal. You and me, to be able to share the best messages that we possibly can and impact a great number of lives. So as always, I appreciate you. Coach Joseph Hawthorne, Truth of Transformation. Peace be the journey.